All right, folks, good morning and almost Merry Christmas and Merry Christmas Eve, of course, to Grant, Tim, Bob, Pat, all of our students live inside our live trading room here, and to all of us on social media, Facebook Live, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, etc. Not just good morning here this Wednesday, December 24th, but happy holidays and, of course, Merry Christmas to all of us here coming on up tomorrow. Market is closed tomorrow, of course, but hey, if you're not as familiar with just how the holidays kind of go throughout this time of the year, we're on a half day today. Today, the market closes at 1 o'clock Eastern time. So if you're a student in our room and you don't hear anything at 2:30 or at 3 o'clock, well, it's not outside the norm here today, right? Because we're closing up shop right at 1 o'clock. And with that, it's probably going to be a stagnant market. At least the only thing I'll say is that coming off yesterday, we did really good just across the S&P, Dow, NASDAQ, everything. Strong slingshot back up. We were looking to see this resistance on the daily chart look to flip into support. And that was even back like 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago here. It was chipping away. And it was a false alarm, right place, wrong time. Because, hey, if it keeps knocking on that door, knocking on that resistance, especially in a smaller time span like we're now seeing once again here, the more it keeps chipping away at it, we're going to see that resistance flip into support. And then that should lead to the next leg up and SPY, likely around 700 to be our next resistance there. So could be a decent market for that reason, right? We came off a good day yesterday. We could see continuation into the end of the week. I'm just pointing out that I appreciate everyone here live inside our trading room participating this morning, but we're not exactly at a full house. Normally right now, I see our participant list, we'd be at like almost at 200 right now, if not just a little over. Right now, we're at 166. So a number of us just kind of dipped out already or are not here at least prepping up for their own holidays. But with that, though, hopefully we can find one or two runners for us, at least by the time the market opens up. If you were with us here in pre-market, Andrea, Ron, Leda, Grant, Lawrence, things were a drag early on today. The INDP, just before I was saying, hopefully this could hold over $3 even here. But, hey, it's not making a higher high, right? This thing was doing nothing for us throughout the entire pre-market, let alone even now. It's not just really doing much now at all. RPTX, popped before 8 o'clock. It looked good going into the 8 o'clock move, maybe kind of flattened out even beforehand, but otherwise, even worse after 8 o'clock, just kind of pulled back a little bit more, flattened out further. TNMG, popped before 8 o'clock. It did not continue. I took one trade in pre-market, and guess what? You would have known if it was a win because I would have posted it in the chat board. I would have been talking a lot more about this stock after it ended up pulling back below support. But the DRMA trade, I tried to jump in on this right off 315 was my entry. And I had a decent start on the trade. But hey, even with this making a higher high, let's see it make another higher high. Let's see it keep popping up at least, right? Let's see it flip this resistance into a support. And that was just more from the daily chart there. So just the highs back from late November there in an attempt to just get something on the board, right? I told Andrea in the chat earlier here, like, you just got to be patient. Patience is our friend on a day like today. That doesn't necessarily mean take zero trades, right? That doesn't necessarily mean that. If you don't take any trades today, then no harm, no foul. But I'm trying to make money. So I felt like it was a good idea to try and jump in on this trade on half position, 500 shares. I was in right from 315, but I got stopped. Not stopped out, but I closed out my trade right at 308, 307 it was. Right place, wrong time. And in this case, there's likely not going to be another time, right? The wrong time is basically the last time. So this just pulled back. And it goes to what I tell you all the time as well. The same to be said on TNMG, the same to be said on RPTX, all of them. If they're not going to be, if they're not going to be making a big move in our direction, they're going to make a big move in our not direction. Get it? So that means DRMA. Am I going to try and hold on to this thing if it breaks support here? No. Wipe your hands clean and move on to the next thing. Or on a day like today, if that was your one shot, then probably be a bit more hesitant up until the market open at least. So that was me. That was my one trade on the morning so far. But I'll tell you what, we're going to go over a couple other movers just from yesterday. Then we'll run down the percent gainers and losers list here for the market open. We did good yesterday, not just with the entire stock market popping. Of course, something like NVIDIA benefiting very nicely. But since NVIDIA has like the most weight within the S&P, perhaps one could say that NVIDIA was the one that carried the whole market yesterday, right? But NVDA made like a 4 to 5% move, if not maybe even more. I forgot the number by the end of it all. It was like a 4 or 5% move. Listen, you got a couple of cheaper alternatives though. NVDX, nice ETF there, ran beautifully at least yesterday. Interesting. This ETF is down 3% this morning, whereas NVDA equity is like break even basically. It's like doing jack, but it's flat. That might be based on a dividend payout, perhaps. I mean, we're not necessarily at December 31st yet, so it's kind of odd to see that happen this morning. The NVDX down at like kind of big today. That throws me off. What about the other one, NVDL? This one's not affected. You had something else happen this morning. You actually see it on my loser side here this morning. So some of these ETFs, they pay out dividends, and that's where going into the end of the month, the beginning of the next, they'll see a bit of a drop off. Like for instance, IBIT is the BlackRock Bitcoin ETF. That doesn't pay any dividend. That you don't have to worry about any weird drops at all on that at all, really. BITO, though, is an ETF from ProShares. They pay out this dividend. Well, I guess they paid it out on the 23rd, I guess, because here we are this morning. They're down 6%. That's kind of weird. Well, look at this one, BITU. This thing, don't trade these ETFs, folks. Don't hold on to them at least, because once they pay out the dividend, the equity price just tanks. And this is brutal, 21% drop. There has to be more to it than just saying the dividend got paid out. But otherwise, though, I'd rather just trade IBIT. I'd rather, in this case, trade the NVDL should that not be paying out some dividend. Bill saying, yeah, they did pay out a dividend today. $2.17 per share, the NVDX, this one. There we go. I appreciate the intel there, Bill. Thank you very much. And hey, that confirms exactly what we were suspecting. And that's just from experience, at least. Threw me for just a little mental loop there. But either way, NVDA, NVIDIA, was a great mover, still holding up pretty nicely. Did pretty well on a couple others. SOC was more of a short squeeze type of play. Sable Offshore, they've been getting a lot of heat on them for the last couple months. There's a whole controversy that I'm not as really familiar with. I kind of just skimmed the report, and that was all. We don't need to trade the news. We just need to trade the trends and the volume. So this has been a great short, but at least up until last week, it ended up making a little pop, and then yesterday it just continued. So perhaps the shorts are starting to cover, and this stock ended up filling a pretty good gap on the daily chart here. Little gap, but the more it was popping up here, breaking above the high back from the 18th last week, you're figuring eventually this gap will get filled, and it did. So good trade yesterday on the Sable Offshore. Right now, not really doing too much for us this morning, so it's all right. We'll keep it on our side list there. Vuzi, nice trade yesterday. Had a good order book yesterday. Should fill in a little bit more by the time the market opens up this morning. Not really doing too much, though. So another stock that was good yesterday. Flavor of the day, flavor of the hour, but we'll come back to it if we need to. Hi-Ho, Highway Holdings, same thing. This one I've never traded before. And when I say that, unless if it's a brand new IPO, if it is a stock that's had history for a long while, I mean, at least this back from the beginning of the calendar, or beginning of 24 even, not even beginning of this calendar year. So beginning of 24. So it's been out there for a while, and we've never traded the stock ever. So that right there, you should just say you can't trust this thing as far as you could throw it, right? I wasn't expecting any sort of continuation on this after the morning finished up. If it were to have given us that, great. It's a gift. It's like an extra Christmas gift, right? But we're not expecting that. So it came back down. It came back down to a past resistance, but that's a wrap. Game over at that point already. But we did good on a few of these. Boyle, natural gas had a good move up yesterday. UNG is the cheaper ETF that goes with it. We had one decent short, Moderna. Moderna, vaccine company, of course, had a big drop just across the last, I'll tell you what, not even just the last year or two. The last 5 years, this thing has been in the dumps. So they did have a decent little move the last week and a half. Don't get me wrong, but it failed to flip resistance into a support, basically crashed into it, and then puked yesterday. So it became a good short once again. And we'll still put this on our side list. We'll still put this on our B list or side list. It's just not doing anything here for us so far. All right, there we go. You had a nice trade right there. Yeah, nice exit and a little 50-cent winner right there on that ELOG. So let's get to the gainers and losers list right now. We'd called that stock out earlier to you here. This one, where I'm trying to be more patient and waiting for a better entry, or maybe just a crazy drop and a pop and drop type of move. I was looking for a pullback down as low as 183. And that was support back in September on the daily chart. Didn't pull all the way back down there, so I didn't get my entry there. I was looking to trade this here, but obviously it held higher, pushed up. This had some crazy pops, so no one was catching this at the time, unless if you were like jumping in between. So this came from left field, and once it had popped back up again, it did reinvigorate our interest in this move. So a student like Yehuda, one of our diamond students, he got in from like 242, likely as it was like shaking around this area here, and took half out. So nice trade. Now here though, Yehuda got out at a good area because I'd called this out also to you just in the chat board. You have resistance right around 288, 290, right? That's just from the daily chart as well. So if you follow our call outs in the chat, you should have a good game plan on your hands if these stocks want to make the move. If these stocks want to do what we need them to do, then you at least have a target. You at least have a resistance to focus on there. So, for right now, it's likely going to hold back under it. We'll put it on our list for the open here today. I don't mind putting it on our list. If it just dumps back down afterwards, that also wouldn't surprise me, but still holding for now. We'll give it some respect and put it on our main list. Now we'll go just right through here though, from top to bottom. This thing is dead. I mean, I guess I could add this thing, but I'd rather trade the ELOG. Ooh, Sober finally popped. Damn. That's another one that was a pop and drop move. At least it wasn't on our pre-market list, but it was a trade also that I had a good eye on. I was trying to think about taking a trade on this. I didn't pull the trigger on it at the time. We had a resistance on this trade right around 171. It was roughly right around here. Volume node, volume spike on the far right side column there, CVP. So more or less, the more it keeps crashing into it, the hope is to see, well, not just a breakout, but to see the flipping into a support. So between the previous wicks plus that level, nice move. So a good trade for right now. The Sober put back on our list. This is a buyout. DVAX, I believe it is at least. Yeah, there we go. I mean, listen, this wasn't a win, but it was a decent loss in the grand scheme of it. I don't do backflips about taking losses, but looking at this in hindsight now, it was a pretty damn good loss. Got out at like 308, 307. This thing puked all the way down at 246. So we'll take it. At the end of the day, we'll take it. At the end of the day, we'll take this also. WLDS. Why not, right? Beautiful pop here. Nice move. Good order book. Tradable. Has all the good stuff. All right. So we got another good trade, at least for right now. Just remember, though, they're popping now. Just look at what this stock did for us back in September. And I'm not talking about the pop back in September. I'm talking about the drop afterwards, right? So, it's easy to think about the prize and the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, but you got to focus more on how to get on that rainbow to begin with, what it takes for you to even get in the trade. So nice move, wearable devices. And again, a former runner. So if it wants to play nice and do well for us here, then we'll take it. SIDU, this was a nice little bounce yesterday at some point, but I don't really have as high hopes for this right away. Maybe Friday when we come back after Christmas, there could be a better move on this. Maybe next week. AIRI, not a terrible chart. It's like kind of flat, but it's up. Just the order book's pretty thin. So if you didn't really see me call the stock out earlier, it's for a reason. Stocks like FJet, disaster. I have no business with that. Path had a little pop. Maybe some news came out on Path here. It's pulling back a little bit right now, so I'm not particular about the pre-market move right now, but overnight, and we'll see what happened here. Company announced that it will replace Synovus Financial in the S&P Mid-Cap 400. Oh, all right. Well, that's good enough. Stock doesn't need to be in the S&P 500 in order for us to respect it. That's a good headline. And the stock has been on a little tear back from the end of September as well. All right, I'll at least add it. Path, good trade here too. Has typically good orders collectively, bid and ask. And actually right now, about 20,000 on the bid sitting here at 17 bucks. RZLT flat, dead. ASTS here, a little expensive, but this is on a really nice move, right? I'll come back to it at the end. I wouldn't mind just putting it on our list, but now at this point, we're already below 5% actually. I mean, try and keep it above 10 even, but Let's hop over to the loser side right now, seeing if there's anything looking just as good, if not better. SMR might be down right now. This or maybe this just paid a dividend here. This ETF. Get a lot of these ETFs on the losers list here this morning, likely with that dividend payout, just on a number of them. Not much here, at least entirely. I know one of us called out Intel this morning early on. So let's just check out the news. There's something that had to have come out earlier on Intel. Whoops, sorry about that. There we go. All right. So Intel slips after a report says NVIDIA halted their AI chip testing. That's the news that came out. I mean, maybe with Intel chips specifically. I mean, NVIDIA stock is doing pretty good this morning still, so not much difference there. At least for right now, I'll put Intel on our list. If it was closer towards the pre-market lows, I'd even be thinking stronger about a short. It has been on a good tear since like July, August time. So it's not really the greatest chart for a short looking at the daily. On the intraday chart, yes. So just keep that in mind. So if it ends up being a decent day trade as a short this morning, well, hey, let me ask students like Michael, Leda, Grant, Yehuda, Jazz, great to see, Bill, all of us here otherwise. What time is reversal time, folks? What time do we expect reversals to happen? Got to have our game plan set up, right? There we go. All of our students, and we cover this just not just in our classes, but I do it in our weekly workshop traders talk, where we actually have the chance to teach these things to you. But 10:30, so that's just part of your game plan, at least there, right? All right. So, folks, I just checked Benzinga. Otherwise, my scans that I have here on my other screen, I got nothing else for you. So at least if anything, hopefully the market presents a bunch of Christmas gifts to us here today, a bunch of stocks that could look to make a nice pop. I'm not necessarily expecting great movement, but if we can catch at least one or two moves after the opening bell hits, then that's all we can really ask for. So I'll take that. But otherwise, folks, hey, we'll be back for all of us on social media Friday morning, full day again, just after Christmas wraps up. I hope you have a lovely Christmas. Merry Christmas to you and your family. All of us out there, not just inside our live trading room, but on social media too. For all of us in our room, just stay tuned. We'll be back on the mic there for you coming up just in about 12 minutes for the opening bell. But otherwise, just on social media, we'll be back Friday morning for you. So again, enjoy, and we'll be back just in just a bit for us live.